Hello and welcome to another Britain's Best B-Roads. As you can see, the 944, the black one, is now gone. After 2 years nearly of being in this garage, it's off to its new owner, and I wish him the very best of luck with it. And no sooner has it gone than it's got me thinking about what else I can get to play with. My lovely wife has agreed that I can have a £6,000 budget to buy another car, and in my mind £6,000 budget also means up to and including £6,999. It starts with a 6, doesn't it? So that's my budget, and this is where I could really use your help, please, because for the next car I don't really know what to go for. It's really exciting. I think this is one of the most enjoyable, fun parts of owning and looking for a classic car, but I need your help because there's so many to pick from. So I'm going to limit it to between 1970 and 2000. I want a car with a manual gearbox because I want to be able to use it for the YouTube videos that I'm doing. So I really want to be able to experience Britain's best driving roads as much as I possibly can, and automatics I feel are a bit passive for that. So what we'll do now is share with you the short list, it's not that short, of cars that I could potentially get for that sort of budget that meet this criteria. And where I could use your help, please, is let me know if you've driven or owned some of these cars, and if you'd recommend it, if you'd do so again or not. If there's any cars that I've missed out from this list that you think I should be considering, and thirdly, if you know of any cars that I should be looking at that are actually for sale, please send the links over to me so I can have a look at them, please. So what I've done is split this list into classics, like real classics, which I've categorised as sort of pre-1980 cars, hot hatches, and more modern classics. So I've put them into 3 groups. So let's get going. The first one on the list of classics is the Reliant Scimitar. Interesting choice, I know. I've been told that the SE5A is possibly the best one to go for. Had the 3-litre Essex V6 engine. So, good things, good points for the Reliant Scimitar. Decent power, quite a practical car, it's a 4-seater. It's quite easy to get parts for all the running gear components because it's basically Ford parts. The fiberglass body doesn't rust, so they're all the good things. The things against going for it, well, the fiberglass body, it cracks, it looks pretty plasticky, the paint finish can get crazed on them. So it's quite hard to get one that actually looks really good. Next one up, the Triumph TR7, but I'd be particularly looking for one with a V8 engine in it. So either a TR8 factory original or a TR7 that's had a V8 dropped into it. 4 reasons for it: it's powerful, quite lightweight, pop-up headlights. I'm always a sucker for pop-up headlights, love them. Against the overall design, I'm not sure that I actually like that overall design, and rust. Now, for most of the cars that we're going to be mentioning on this list, rust is always like a key concern in older cars, but for the Triumph in particular, in fact probably most British cars of the 70s and 80s, rust was a real blight. Next one on the list is the Fiat X19, or the Bertone X19 as it was called after 1982. Reasons for: it's a mid-engined Italian 2-seater sports car designed by Gandini, and it's got pop-up headlights. This ticks an awful lot of boxes. Unfortunately, one of the biggest reasons against it is that it's a very small car, and the chances of me fitting in it comfortably are pretty slim. And other reasons against it, looking at the review that the Car Guys did, if you haven't watched the Car Guys on YouTube, I can thoroughly recommend that you do watch their channel. And one of their episodes was on the Bertone X19, one of the very last versions of it, but even then the handling and the brakes on it are really quite vague. Well, I couldn't have a list of classic cars without having the MGB GT on it. It is the obvious classic car choice to go for. Great parts availability, great support from the clubs. It still looks a cool car in the chrome bumper anyway, and it is the car that really created the category of the sports car for the masses. Reasons against, I'm not too sure, to be honest. The engines, the Gold Seal engine's pretty reliable. Even the rubber bumper, which is awful. You know, I think it looks awful. If I were to get one of them, I would convert it to chrome bumper and lower the ride height. So yeah, I can't think of any reasons against the MGB GT, to be honest. Next one, bit of a curveball, the Rover P6, the 3500. Reasons for it, it's a V8. Like, don't actually need to say any more than that. It is a V8. That's really cool. And that Rover V8 in particular is a Buick derived V8, so it is an American V8, very small block size. It's very tunable. The car itself, the P6, highly practical car. You know, it's a big 5-seater family saloon with a boot that is this, or a trunk that is the size of a house. But what I haven't seen is one that's done the way that I would want to go about doing it. But maybe that could be my challenge, is to turn it into a car that is actually sporty and engaging to drive. So P6, hadn't thought about it, but it's a maybe. So the next category I've put in is hot hatches. So how about the Renault 5? Now, I don't think I can get a GT, but there are other models that had good power to weight, such as the Monaco, the Renault 5 Monaco. It's a brilliant little B-road blaster of a car, decent power to weight. I think it had about 90 brake horsepower. But reasons against it, well, they're quite rare. Now that makes getting parts for them quite difficult. It means finding a good one that's just that right thing I'm looking for, which is it's not perfect. It needs a bit of work doing to it, so it's kind of a project, but it's not a huge, big, massive refurbishment of the car with welding involved. And you know, that's going to be tough to find a Renault 5 that's in that sort of shape. Another one though could be the Peugeot 309 GTI. Now 205 GTIs, everybody knows they're great, but there's no way I'm getting one of them for a £6,000 budget. The 309, however, and for reasons I don't quite understand, is valued less than the 205. I think actually personally the 309 looks better. I know that's a contentious thing to say, but I think it does, and it's a more practical car as well. The back seats are slightly bigger, and you've got a bigger boot than the 309. A lot of the running gear is the same as the 205 GTI as well, so parts availability is pretty good. So I think you get a lot of car for the money with a 309 GTI. Reasons against? The only thing I can think of really is that the gear change is like stirring thick soup. But you could say that of any French car of that era, really. If we go a little bit more small scale to what I think is actually the best hot hatch ever made. Now that's a big, bold statement, I know. I think it's better than the 205 GTI, I think it's better than the Golf Mark I, is the Peugeot 106 GTI. I think that got the power to weight just perfect. It's like a little mosquito, that car. Yeah, for me it's the best hot hatch ever made. Reasons against it, it is a small car, brilliant on B roads, but if I'm going to be driving all the way potentially to the south of England or all the way to the north of Scotland, I will have to drive on motorways for some of that to get to these great roads, and I can imagine that's going to be quite tiring doing that in a little 106. So if we move on to the category of modern classics, and the first one up, I couldn't have a list without a fast Ford on it. I would love an Escort Cosworth or a Sierra Sapphire Cosworth, but no way I'm getting that in a £6,000 budget. Maybe if I put a 2 in front of it, perhaps. But I could get a Ford Sapphire 4x4, 2 litre Gia 4x4. The reasons for going for a car like that, well, the 4-wheel drive, it would be good fun to take it out in slightly icy, snowy weather, which obviously I wouldn't dare do in the 944 or any other purely rear-wheel drive car. So it would be good fun from that point of view. It's a practical car, it's a family saloon, it's relatively powerful with the 2-litre engine in it, and it can be made to look like an RS Cosworth relatively easily, so that could be pretty cool. Reasons against it, it's not really the raw driving experience that I'm looking for. Extra weight of the 4-wheel drive system, the extra weight of it being a big car. I don't think I could do anything to that car that hasn't already been done before and isn't already on YouTube or Instagram and things like that. So, you know, me having that car as a project wouldn't, I don't think, be particularly interesting for anybody to watch. Now, if I were to go for one of these next two cars, I could pretty much have my pick, because there are lots of them around. The BMW Z3 2.8 or the Mercedes SLK 320, and I've lumped them together because I think the reasons for and against them are actually pretty similar. So reasons for it: powerful, front engined, rear wheel drive, that's the right layout for a two-seater sports car. So it's a good start. But against them, they're both quite heavy. You know, the Mercedes with the folding metal roof adds quite a lot of weight, both the roof and the electric mechanism for it. And the engines in the front, the 3.2 and the 2.8, quite heavy engines, so they're not effervescent light cars to drive by any stretch of the imagination. The other thing is, I think they're a little bit dull. You know, I've never driven past a Z3 or an SLK, no matter what spec that they've been, and said, oh look, there's a Z3, there's an SLK. They're a little bit anonymous, I think personally, and that doesn't excite me. So I don't think I would go for one of them. Couldn't have a list of modern classics without the Boxster on it. Probably a 2.5 and a 2.7. I don't think I'd be able to get a 3.2S in this budget, although I might be able to. Reasons for it? Well, it's the obvious choice, isn't it? Mid-engined, two-seater, rear-wheel drive, Porsche precision steering and gearbox. They are fabulous cars to drive. Reasons against: in this budget, I'd probably be looking at a 986, so there's the risk of IMS issues with that engine, I think. And the other thing is, I recall in one of the Grand Tour episodes where they were driving part of the North Coast 500, you know, the piloting extremely nicely in Scotland, whatever the distance was. It's a good episode, really good episode. And James May was driving a Lancia in that, and he said, by his measure, classic car is only a classic car if it meets 2 of 3 criteria. It has to be beautiful, or it has to be rare, or it has to be interesting, either from a mechanical point of view, like the MGA was the first car to have, first production car to have disc brakes on it, I think, or all the electronic innovations that the S-Class Mercedes brought. These types of things make a car interesting. And when I think about the Boxster, I'm not sure that it meets that test. We're nearly there. We're getting through the list well. I told you it was quite a long list. There are a lot of great cars out there, and that's why I need your help to try and figure out what to go for next. Honda S2000, fabulous car, possibly the best ever two-seater front-engined car, maybe. Lovely tight manual gearbox, engine revs ridiculously high. Against it, the look of it doesn't particularly excite me. The next one does actually excite me a little bit. The Toyota MR2, either the Mark I or the Mark II, but I really like the thought of a Mark I. I think they're becoming very rare, those cars. They were like little go-karts. They're very small, very nimble, 1.6 engine in it, which can be supercharged, can be turbocharged as well, but there are supercharger kits out there for them. I think that could be quite fun to get one of them and see if I could fit a supercharger to it. That sounds like it could be a good laugh. Reasons against going for a Mark I or Mark II MR2. You can't help feel that they're like a faxed copy of an Italian mid-engined two-seater car. And by that I mean they just lack the subtle finesse of the design detail that Italian sports cars have. For example, take the air intake. You look at an air intake on a Ferrari 308 GT4 Dino. It is designed into the quarter panel window of the car. Beautiful bit of design. You look at the air intake of a Mark I MR2 and it looks like it's just been stuck on afterwards. So the design of the car looks a bit like a 5-year-old designed it. But there's still something about it that really intrigues me, and I think it could be quite a fun car to do some work on. And the last group of cars that I am thinking about is another Porsche transaxle car. So we've got the 944S, so obviously I wouldn't go for another one of them, but maybe a 924, 924S. Don't think I could get a 924 turbo for the budget, but maybe as a project car, 944 square dash, or a 944 S2, again as a project car for the budget. So that's it, that's all the cars I've come up with on my list, between 1970 and 2000, manual gearbox, roughly £6,000 budget. Let me know what you think, please. If any of the cars on the list here you would recommend or not, then please let me know. If I've missed off any cars, and I'm sure there are lots of people out there with suggestions of things that I have missed off, then please let me know and we can add it in. Thanks very much for watching. Please like if you have, please subscribe if you want to watch some of these videos again, and ring the bell because hopefully more videos will be coming up shortly. Ha ha!